me on the couch now, I'm going to welcome, Assalamu alaikum. This is, of
alaikum.
course, Raja Ali. It's so lovely to meet you. Now, you have got so many different hats. I'm going to say you describe yourself as a chief executive, advisory board member, a corporate leader, a mentor, an educator, a change maker, a strategist.
Wow, that's
There's loads.
Did someone really write that? For
Yes,
me?
yes, those. I'm really intrigued. I think this is brilliant. How did you start off? Where did you find all these hats? Tell me.
Ooh, I think my biggest problem is I find it very hard to say no.
Right.
So when someone approaches me for something, I can't say no. So when the university approached me and they asked me, will you be able to mentor some of our kids?
Yep.
I said, of course I would, because they're kids.
Yes.
That's my weakness.
Yes.
I can never say no when it comes to educating the next generation. The government came to me and they said, we have businesses who've signed up for, it's called Be the Business, where I'm a board member. New businesses or business who are struggling, they ask for advice from an established business owner. So when the government approaches you, you don't say no.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when there are other projects coming along, if you want to do it, you will always find the time to do it. That's what I live by. That's my motto.
That's amazing. So how did you start off? I mean, obviously your business acumen is what's kind of, made you a magnet for all these people that you can't say no to. But how did you begin all of that?
Well, started off as a corporate lawyer, would you believe?
Ah, another lawyer, okay.
Yes, like your previous guest. Yeah, I did exactly the same, but I went the long route.
Right.
I did a business studies degree first. Then I thought, there was only one unit in the business studies degree that I liked, and that was law.
Right.
So I thought, well, I should have done a law degree to begin with.
Absolutely.
So I did a law degree, but in those days, now I'm in my 50s, so in those days you were able to get an exemption for year one. So I only studied 2 years and I was lucky to have a law degree. Then I thought, I like law so much, I'm going to do another degree in law. So I ended up doing a master's in law, where I was very blessed to have a special commendation, and to this date, I am the person who scored the highest in 2 of the private international.
That's fantastic.
And that was many, many years
ago.
So, and it basically carried on from there. I was very fortunate to work for big companies like Coca-Cola. For my sins, I was also a special envoy for the Greek Orthodox Church.
Okay.
So I would say that was my biggest sort of career-defining moment.
Wow.
Is where the Greek Orthodox Church approached me, a Muslim and a practicing Muslim.
Incredible.
To represent them.
Wow.
So they must have seen a quality in me which they liked.
And that actually takes me to possibly the next question, which is, I was going to ask you, what kind of qualities do you think that people see in you that, want them to work with? Because it's not easy. And I imagine in your kind of line of work, where you're dealing with a wide range of people, you've got to have that diplomacy. You've got to be able to deal with and communicate with, all sorts of people. How do you go about doing that?
For me, it comes quite naturally, and it didn't happen from day one. If you ask my family members, they'll tell you I used to be quite hot-headed,
right?
And I would never listen to anything. And then as you get older, you become a little bit wiser. You mellow a little bit, and then I thought, well, I'm going to give people the opportunity where, if I want to be heard, they also need to be heard. So I decided to keep my mouth shut for a while, which I know some people will think it's almost impossible for me to do. So it was all about listening. I really sharpened my listening skills.
That's amazing.
And then it was seeing their point of view.
Right.
So rather than jumping to conclusions, hear them out, see where they're coming from, and acknowledge their issues. And in the business world, that comes in very handy.
I can imagine. And it's not something we normally hear, actually. It's all about communicating articulately and confidently and all the things. But actually listening and valuing those listening skills and honing in those listening skills is equally as important, And I'm sure that's why the Greek Orthodox Church, did approach you, perhaps because they knew you were going to be somebody who had that empathy and were able to listen as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one mantra I go by is Allah gave us one mouth and 2 ears.
Yes,
that's for a reason.
Of course.
So we should be doing twice as much of listening as we do talking.
Yeah.
So, and if we're talking, then we're just repeating what we know.
Yes.
But if we're listening, we're learning.
Absolutely.
We're taking information
You're taking things in, aren't you?
Yes.
Now, I've got to ask you, so you're Chief Executive of Ralph Partnerships? Right?
We do have quite a few businesses within the IBD partnership group.
Right, okay. Is that part of the IBD, a branch of it?
It is one part of it,
okay, yes. There's so many different aspects. So I was trying to get my head around this. So tell me about your role within that and within IBD, and some of the projects. I know that Erasmus is a big part of one of the programs that you do. Yes. For our viewers, maybe explain what that's about.
Of course, of course. Erasmus is something that we specialize in. Right. What we call it is, that's our bread and butter.
Yes.
Erasmus is a program of cohesion and also getting the next generation to go to other countries. And it is part of the curriculum. So they have to learn a different language, they have to live in a different culture, they have to live in another country. This may surprise you. The budget for this is 26 billion euros.
Wow, that's
a
huge.
lot of money. It's a lot of money.
Whew, okay.
And that's over a 7-year period.
Right.
That's a cycle that happens. And for me, professionally, I'm only in the 3rd cycle of Erasmus. And we're very fortunate to work in 37 countries. So our role is to take learners from Germany, and we will take them to places like Slovakia, Slovenia, Ireland. Germans seem to like Ireland a lot.
Oh, really? So, I wonder why. Do we know?
I think it's the nature, of Ireland, because it's the
greenery,
emerald the greenery,
of course.
And it's very open. It's sparse.
Yeah.
Certain parts you can drive for miles and miles. You won't see anyone apart from trees and greenery. So the Germans love that. We work directly with the German government. Right. We're one of the few companies who have a direct contract with the German Chambers of Commerce where we train their future decision makers.
That's incredible.
So they will come to us and they'll say that he or she has been identified as a future decision maker for Germany. We would like to take you, we would like you to take them for a month, 2 months or 3 months and shape them to be a decision maker. So that's what we do.
Actually, part of your role is helping to train up future leaders, isn't it?
Yes. That's what we do.
From the young and sort of shaping them and moving them on and having different experiences and exposing them to different things, I guess.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's more to do with making them think like a future decision maker, because they will have so many people from so many different countries within their team. So there's also the cultural understanding. Yeah. There's the language element of it, and also the diplomacy.
Absolutely.
That in order to get someone to do something, you don't do it through fear.
Yes.
So that's what we do, is encouragement, nurturing. That's what we teach.
Absolutely.
And it's so wonderful. I feel so blessed and I feel so lucky. And it's the blessings of my parents that me, I always say, a short, fat Asian person who looks like Buddha goes on to sign contracts with governments and local education authorities and regional governments. I'm surrounded by white people and I'm the only brown person sitting there. If I don't sign off this project, it doesn't get signed off.
Do you know, and we feel proud of you. And listen,
Thank
Buddha
you.
was wise. So I want you to remember that.
Thank
but,
you.
I think it's brilliant. And I feel proud of you myself. I met your colleague quite recently as well, also part of the IBD group, and it's great. And I really hope you carry on doing these amazing things and giving, children this kind of chance and opportunity to have that better future,
And all of this is part of the Turing scheme. So after we left the European Union, Boris is not as silly as he looks, and he came up with the Turing scheme, which is an absolute carbon copy of the Erasmus scheme. Now, I was sitting with our partners from the Newark Youth London, and I said, why don't Bangladeshi schools, colleges and organisations apply for this funding? So we just got talking, and I have to say we have some great partners in Newark. And they said, OK, fine, leave that with us. We will see what we can do, and let us take the message across schools in London.
Right.
So we're very fortunate to have a very big group going to Bangladesh from London, the very first time under this project, and they landed in Bangladesh today.
That's brilliant. I think those were the students that I spoke to a couple of weeks ago. Fantastic. Listen, thank you so much for being on the show. I do hope you come again and maybe show me some clips of what they got up to in Bangladesh. That would be brilliant.